Stunning twist, single mom's Mistext to billionaire reveals his surprising new priority, his son. The diner buzzed with the scent of pancakes and the chatter of late-night patrons. Sarah wiped her brow, the grease-stained apron clinging to her like a second skin. How did she end up here? A bustling Chicago diner, juggling greasy plates and homework assignments, and the incessant worry about making rent. She could barely catch her breath before another wave of customers flooded through the door. Jake was waiting at home, his needs tugging at her heart like a lifeline. Another shift, another night, but the burden of chasing dreams while raising her son felt heavier. "Hey, Sarah. You good?" Maggie, her fellow waitress, flashed a supportive smile. "Yeah, just thinking," Sarah replied, her mind swirling with doubt. As she poured coffee into a cup, she couldn't help but reflect on her exhaustion. Every day felt like running a marathon with no finish line. She sent a quick text to her best friend, a cathartic release of all her pent-up emotions about motherhood's relentless demands, about feeling like she was failing while wanting more for Jake. For a moment, she felt lighter, like maybe she could find balance in this chaos, until her phone buzzed, indicating she had sent it to the wrong person. Daniel, the billionaire tech mogul, was sipping an expensive bourbon in a glass tower hundreds of miles away. He barely noticed the text notification, buried in spreadsheets and corporate strategy. But when he opened the message, the weight of Sarah's words struck him. The urgency, the rawness, the grit of a single mom's struggles suddenly shattered his high-pressure world like a glass facade. Thoughts of long hours and missed moments with his own son flashed through his mind, awakening the dormant guilt he had buried beneath layers of ambition. Before Sarah's heart could settle, an unexpected vibration reached her again. Daniel's quick reply resurfaced. Their words flowed like a river, initially cautious but quickly unraveling to reveal the depth of their respective struggles. Each message illuminated their divided lives, creating a connection that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Sarah began to wonder how this billionaire could relate to her simple joys and hurdles, and yet his understanding of sacrifice resonated deeply with her. But just as she dared to hope, anxiety unfurled within her, a fear of what this connection might bring. What does a man like him know about the real world? Her thoughts raced with that question while she balanced plates. Leaning against the counter for a moment, she felt the tightness in her chest as she confronted her insecurities. Could she expose Jake to a life of wealth that could just as easily become distorting? Tension hung heavy in her mind as she considered the risks of intertwining their lives. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As their correspondence deepened, the stakes grew higher. Daniel's vulnerability awakened something deep in him, pushing him to contemplate returning to his son, yet the realization hit him like a brick. The corporate machinations that fueled his ambition had created a chasm between him and his child. And there, in the flicker of their friendship, lay a risk he found disarming. What if Sarah wasn't what he needed? What if this friendship forced him to choose, yet again, between ambition and family? The rows of chrome booths and clattering dishes felt miles away from where their lives were now converging. No longer was she just a waitress, she was wading into murky waters, crossing into territory that demanded vulnerable choices. Jake deserved a life free from the burdens of wealth defined by greed and his weary mother's fatigue. Could she, amidst all this chaos, dare to dream of something more? The storm outside brewed, mirroring their turmoil, as she found herself standing at a precipice. Would she leap into the unknown, drawn to the possibilities Daniel represented, or would she draw the line to protect her son from the merciless grasp of privilege? The night felt electric, fraught with uncertainties. Could she trust her heart in a world filled with deception? It was a delicate balance, and as they faced each shared revelation, the pressure intensified. What would it mean for Sarah's future, and for Jake, caught in the orbit of choices thick with implications. The answers just beyond reach, leaving them suspended on the brink of a decision fraught with meaning. Sarah worked through the night, her thoughts consumed by the unexpected connection with Daniel. Each shift at the diner passed in a blur, her mind frequently drifting to their conversations. Each ding of her phone felt like electricity, jolting her into a new reality, one where her life wasn't solely defined by endless responsibilities. She couldn't shake the feeling that, for the first time in a long while, she was seen. She had always believed that ambition was for other people. The people who didn't have to worry about waking up to a pile of bills, who could chase dreams without looking behind them. But as Daniel peeled back the layers of his own life, sharing his tensions, she recognized the same yearning within herself, a desire to break free from an existence defined by survival, even if the thought was terrifying. Approaching the counter to serve a new family that had just been seated, she noted their bright eyes and animated chatter with a sense of envy. Their ease stirred something restless inside her. Why was she only running after the next paycheck? Why hadn't she yet found time to embrace her own aspirations? Each clatter of cutlery echoed her doubts. Flashing back to Daniel's stories about his tech empire stirred not just inspiration, but an ache. What if she could create something too, something meaningful not just for herself but for Jake? Later that night, a lull settled over the diner. Sarah leaned against the counter, attempting to digest these revelations. The walls felt closer with her unfulfilled ambitions pressing down on her. Jake needed stability, she reminded herself. But did that mean surrendering her dreams to the grind? She had spent years sustaining the rhythm of her son's life, cultivating his future at the cost of her own. With trembling fingers, she typed a response to Daniel, drawing on all the courage she could muster. You mentioned your son needs you. How do you balance it all without losing yourself? It was a thinly veiled attempt to reach for the answers she craved, an exploratory gesture toward the life she dared not claim. She fired the message off into the void, immediately anxious over its weight. When Daniel replied with a reflective message about his regrets over his own choices, Sarah felt a swell of recognition and sympathy. His honesty resonated deeply with her. He, too, yearned for something beyond just the daily grind. Both of them were navigating uncharted waters, yet, with that recognition came fear, a realization that a relationship with someone like Daniel could bring the higher stakes she had avoided all her life. She wanted to embrace that new perspective, but a nagging voice whispered doubts. The risk of blending their worlds stealthily simmered beneath the surface. The next morning, with fatigue clinging to her like an unwanted cloak, she faced the reality of another long day at the diner. In the haze of greasy dishes and coffee orders, she felt a spark of determination. She noted the little moments of Riley's laughter back at home, reminding herself of everything she was fighting for. Feeling courageous, Sarah decided to take small steps towards her dream. Perhaps dedicating even an hour each week to explore her interests, maybe art or writing, would serve as a starting point. As the sun rose, intention burned within her. Each decision she made could steer her life. With that thought spinning in her mind, she finished her shift. That evening, Sarah sat with Jake, their laughter echoing through the cramped little apartment. For the first time, making efforts for her dreams felt refreshingly possible, but as she was about to shut off the lights of their home, her phone vibrated and she saw a new message on the screen from Daniel. The words loomed larger than the mundane, curdling excitement and anxiety together in a potent mix. Can we meet? I think it's time we talked in person. In one heartbeat, clarity drifted like a feather caught in a storm. This would unearth possibilities she had never imagined, but also, potentially, vulnerabilities she was hardly prepared to face. The moment had arrived. Would Sarah step into the complexities of Daniel's world, or guard her heart and Jake's against the repercussions of that union? As Sarah stared at the message from Daniel, her heart raced with a mixture of anticipation and dread. The thought of meeting him in person felt like stepping onto a tightrope. One misstep could throw her into a chasm of uncertainty. She had spent years keeping her world stable for Jake, meticulously crafting a life intertwined with safety. Now, standing on the precipice of something new, the weight of this decision pressed heavily on her. she glanced at the chaotic rug where Jake's toys lay scattered, his innocent laughter echoing in her mind. Would this meeting be a distraction from the life they had built together, or a catalyst that could expand their horizons? She could envision countless scenarios flooding her mind. Daniel's ease with the world, his capacity for creative ambition contrasted sharply with her own hesitations. Determination pulsed begrudgingly through her veins. How could she allow fear to navigate her path anymore? Having come so far, navigating the mundane grind robotically while harboring dreams, she felt an innate yearning for more. Yet, she hesitated, questioning her ability to keep Jake emotionally secure if she let another person into their dynamic. Sinking onto the couch, she opened her laptop. The empty document as daunting as the unknown territory ahead of her. With each keystroke, she wrestled with profound uncertainty. Should she draft a letter to Daniel for clarity, a way to articulate her hopes and fears? Or was initiating such a conversation merely setting herself up for disappointment? Hours ticked by as she hovered over the keyboard, her thoughts blurred by a swirl of anxiety. What if Daniel saw her not as an equal, but as a worker bee in his world of ambition? That moment where she might be met with a condescending smile haunted her. It echoed back to when she'd first taken a waitress job. Feeling invisible among the chatter of more vibrant lives, Jake wandered into the room, holding a scribbled drawing of his favorite dinosaur. "Look, Mama." The way his eyes lit up momentarily jolted her out of her spiral. In that moment, she remembered exactly why she was considering this meeting, not just for herself, but for Jake. "It's amazing, buddy. That T-Rex looks fierce." The pride in her voice silenced her doubts momentarily. Her son, full of unfiltered dreams and fearlessness, reminded her just how vital it was to lead by example. If he could express his creativity so freely, why couldn't she? Sarah pulled herself up, her resolve solidifying. She needed to confront the reality that embracing her passions did not mean abandoning Jake, rather, it could teach him about the importance of following one's drive. As she turned back to the laptop, a burning question crystallized in her mind. Could she turn the story she had yet to write into a collaborative piece, one that involved Daniel, a potential ally in their dreamscape? The thought thrilled and terrified her. With a steady hand, she responded to Daniel's proposal, agreeing to meet, laying bare her intentions and the apprehensions that followed closely behind. Unfiltered, raw, real. This was her first act of defiance against the limiting beliefs that had defined her life for too long. Minutes later, Daniel replied with a warmth that echoed his genuine intent. "I'm looking forward to it." As Sarah set her phone down, a wave of nervous laughter overtook her. This mark of vulnerability was both terrifying and exhilarating. She had stepped onto the tightrope, now all that remained was the balance. Could she maintain her footing when faced with the surprise and the complexity of a new connection, or would fear and the weight of her past pull her down? The days leading to their meeting felt like an expedition, each moment amplifying her anticipation. Each interaction with Jake became layered with excitement and unexamined insecurities about the road ahead. Standing in front of the mirror the day of their meeting, she dressed carefully, mindful of the image she projected but also hopeful to convey her authentic self. She realized looking polished didn't mean hiding who she was. Instead, it meant embracing the layers that defined her, even the messy ones. With every thought and frame of her day racing through her head, she could feel possibilities unfurling. Meeting Daniel represented not just a change in her personal landscape, but an invitation to explore an alternate path. As she rushed out the door, the weight of her decision settled in a different kind of excitement. The thrill of the unforeseen shadowed her initial apprehension. How would this meeting unfold? What would Daniel reveal about himself and about her? Suddenly, Sarah's phone chimed again. A notification flashed, an article headline about a tech summit hosted by none other than Daniel's company. The implications stung with urgency. The moment had arrived, swirling with promise and potentially daunting truths. She took a breath. Would she have the courage to leap forward into the unknown and embrace whatever awaited her? Or would she let her lingering doubts overshadow the very possibility of transformation? As Sarah stepped into the coffee shop, the tantalizing aroma of freshly brewed coffee enveloped her, mingling with the cool air outside. She paused at the entrance, scanning the vibrant room that buzzed with conversation, the clinking of ceramic mugs punctuating a backdrop of laughter and creativity. The sight of couples, friends, and solo thinkers wrapped in their own moments of inspiration made her heart race anew, a palpable mix of excitement and fear coursing through her. Determined not to appear hesitant, she moved toward a small table in the corner. This was her moment, she reminded herself. She was here to meet Daniel, not just a man of ambition, but a potential ally in her quest for personal awakening. But as her gaze drifted outside for a fleeting second, she questioned her choice, her palms suddenly clammy with perspiration. Had she miscalculated? The chime of the door interrupted her thoughts as Daniel entered, his presence commanding and yet relaxed. Dressed in a tailored blazer that effortlessly complemented his casual style, he exuded an energy that felt both inviting and intimidating. She suddenly felt like an imposter, an unworthy participant in a world she barely belonged to. But behind that whirlwind of self-doubt, a flicker of resolve ignited within her. "Sarah, right?" he said, his smile warm and disarming. "Yeah, and you must be Daniel." She offered an encouraging smile, despite the apprehension creeping back. "Thanks for meeting with me." As they exchanged pleasantries, she couldn't shake the gnawing sensation deep within. What had started as the promise of possibility now thrummed with tension. Each word felt weighted, her intention to establish herself as an equal lingering just out of reach. "So, tell me about your vision for our collaboration," Daniel prompted, genuine interest radiating from his piercing blue eyes. With a determined breath, Sarah dove into her ideas about combining their different perspectives to create something vibrant. She explained how Jake's childlike wonder often sparked her own creativity, and sharing that sentiment with Daniel could be transformative for both of them. Her voice trembled slightly, yet slowly transformed into confidence as she illustrated her dreams, the hidden designs and vibrant futures she had kept bottled inside for so long. Daniel listened intently, nodding, occasionally interjecting with thoughtful questions that made her feel seen. The initial intimidation began to melt away, replaced by an exhilarating sense of possibility. Perhaps he viewed her as more than just a worker bee after all. "What you're suggesting is refreshing," he eventually said. "We need that insight about approaching our projects from a more holistic angle." She could hardly believe how seamlessly the conversation flowed, each topic a stepping stone toward something deeper, something once thought beyond her grasp. But lingering doubt still nipped at her heels. Did he recognize her brilliance? Or was his admiration fueled by the novelty of her perspective? The meeting unfolded into an exploration of shared aspirations, laughter rising like a balm against her earlier insecurities. Yet, with every exchanged idea, a shadow hovered, one that reminded her of Jake's needs. Could she balance this burgeoning relationship and her responsibilities as a mother? Toward the end, Daniel leaned back, smiling thoughtfully. "I see so much potential here. What do you think about a partnership? I could use someone with your unique insights." The words washed over Sarah, their weight both thrilling and terrifying. This was what she had dared to dream of, but could she truly tread this new path without losing herself or jeopardizing her role as Jake's anchor? "Partnership?" she echoed, swallowing the lump forming in her throat. "Absolutely," Daniel affirmed, his eyes searching hers. "I believe we could create something innovative together." As the exhilaration surged, everything she had sought, the validation, the chance to embrace her dreams, hung in the balance. Yet, beneath the excitement was an undeniable anxiety that clawed at her. What if this exhilarating opportunity came at a cost? Would grasping this opportunity mean sacrificing her carefully constructed haven with Jake? Suddenly, Sarah's phone buzzed with a message from Jake. "Mama, can you come home soon? I miss you." Her heart clenched as the pull of her dual identity struck her, mom versus aspirant. Would she allow herself this chance at transformation while ensuring Jake's heart remained whole? As she processed these conflicting emotions, she felt the moment crackle with tension. The fate of her aspirations rested on the edge of commitment, an uncharted landscape awaiting her next move. the time had come to face the ultimate question. Could she foster this partnership without fracturing her connection with her son? The phone vibrated insistently on the table, pulling Sarah back to the present with a forceful tug. She glanced down at Jake's message and felt a wave of guilt wash over her. Each word swelled with his innocent longing, reminding her of her responsibilities as a mother. Had she put herself in a position where she might neglect her most important job? Her heart raced as she met Daniel's gaze, the prospect of partnership dancing in the air between them like a flickering candle, while the flame of her own insecurities threatened to snuff it out. As she fought internal demons, she felt overwhelmed by the enormity of what lay ahead. Would I, balance it all, she wondered, her mind a whirl of calculations and doubts. Daniel was still discussing plans, his voice warm and encouraging. Each idea he presented felt vibrant and bold, yet in her chest, a tight knot pulled her thoughts back home. She owed it to Jake to ensure he was safe and secure, a priority she couldn't abandon for the allure of ambition. The necessity to tread this new path loomed large, yet so did the looming presence of motherhood. Sarah? Daniel's voice broke through her turbulent thoughts. You okay? She forced a smile, aware of the confusion dancing in her eyes. Yeah, just thinking, she replied, her words laced with hesitation. Look, I know this is all sudden, he said, leaning closer, but I see something special in what we could create together. It's not just about the work, I think it could be fulfilling on a personal level as well. His enthusiasm was infectious but also terrifying. Her heart ached with the tug-of-war between ambition and her responsibilities. What if pushing ahead with this opportunity meant that Jake would feel less cared for? Yet, if she stepped back now, would she ever discover the person she wanted to be? Have you ever faced a choice that felt like it could change everything? She asked, surprising herself. The vulnerability of that question hung in the air, crystallizing the weight of her reality. Daniel nodded, his expression shifting to something more serious. Absolutely. The stakes can be high: relationships, paths, opportunities, it's about risk evaluation. You need to consider what deeply matters to you. His words forged a connection in her mind, resonating in tandem with an emerging clarity. Here, at this table wrapped in the tension of a potential partnership, she was not just contemplating a professional leap, she was grappling with the essence of who she was and who she wished to become. Do you think, Sarah ventured, that it's even possible to chase ambitious dreams while nurturing the most precious relationships in our lives? Daniel's gaze sharpened, and a flicker of understanding crossed his face. It is daunting, but you don't have to do it in isolation. You can create a network of support that understands your unique balance. His earnestness struck a chord in her. Perhaps she could maintain her relationship with Jake while also igniting her professional dreams. Daniel was right, she needed to build a framework, support, perhaps even bring Jake into part of her dream. Their partnership would thrive on innovation and collaboration, but it could also allow her to include the joy of her motherhood. As the conversation continued to unfurl, Sarah felt chains of self-doubt loosen their grip. Ideas bounced between them like a game of catch, each a bright potential path leading to growth. She felt the energy, the synergy building around them. Maybe this partnership was meant to blossom just as much in her professional life as in her personal life, yet, with each second ticking away, the shadow of her obligations nagged at her. The mental gymnastics were relentless. Could she truly embark on this journey with clarity of heart and mind? When they finally concluded their conversation, Sarah felt invigorated yet fraught with uncertainty and hesitation. Was she ready to commit, both to Daniel and to the personal boundaries she must uphold for Jake? Let us meet again tomorrow, Daniel suggested, his optimism mirroring her own unresolved feelings. Tomorrow sounds good. I'll think more about everything, she replied, a sense of empowerment stabilizing her breath. Walking out of the coffee shop, she felt a pulse of potential reverberate through her. She could exist at the intersection of her dual lives. She could redefine not only her professional dreams but also ensure Jake remained central to her journey. However, in the back of her mind, a question lingered like a quiet storm. Was the balance merely an illusion, and how much would she need to compromise to keep both worlds from collapsing? The moment she reached her car, she felt the weight of her decision pressing heavily on her shoulders. As she settled into the driver's seat, a thought whispered, a warning, perhaps. Would this venture unravel under pressure? As she turned the key in the ignition, the engine roared to life, and with it, her journey continued down an uncharted path, one paved with possibilities, and there was only one way to find out if it would lead to fulfillment. The city streets blurred past Sarah as she navigated the car, each turn echoing the twists in her mind. Images of Jake playing in the backyard, his laughter ringing like chimes, collided with the vision of potential partnerships and a vibrant business future. Her stomach churned with uncertainty. Could she really nurture both dreams simultaneously? Pulling into her driveway, the comforting familiarity of home enveloped her. The door creaked open, revealing the warmth and chaos that defined her life with Jake. He raced around the living room, his toy dinosaurs clashing in imaginative battles. She watched him, heart swelling but also aching with the burden of her choices. "Mom!" he exclaimed, his eyes brightening at her presence. "You're home. Can we build a fort?" "Of course, buddy," she replied, forcing a smile as she set aside her lingering worries like a well-worn jacket on a chair. They gathered blankets and cushions, and as they transformed their living room into a fortress, Sarah tried to immerse herself in the joy of the moment. Yet, fragments of her conversation with Daniel nagged at her thoughts like an unresolved riddle. As they sat inside their makeshift castle, she observed Jake's face aglow with happiness, unaware of the quiet turmoil brewing beneath her surface. She questioned whether these small moments of joy could coexist with her ambition if she could craft a life where both were given their due. "Can we have pizza for dinner?" Jake asked, his excitement bubbling over. "Absolutely," Sarah replied, her mind still divided. Pizza could be the perfect treat to celebrate their fort building. Yet, as she fetched her phone to order, the sight of Daniel's message from earlier returned. "Think about what matters to you." Did success at work diminish the love she fostered at home? "Mom?" Jake's small voice broke her reverie, drawing her back to the present. "Are you okay?" The concern in his eyes struck her deeply. "Of course. I'm just thinking about pizza." He nodded, but the way he shifted his gaze told her that he sensed her distress. Her protective instincts flared. She couldn't allow her internal struggle to seep into their joyful moments. But then a thought hit her. Was he witnessing the emergence of a version of herself that she hardly recognized? As the pizza baked and the aroma filled the air, Sarah contemplated bringing Jake into her new venture. It wasn't just about work, it was about legacy and showing him that dreams could coexist alongside responsibilities. "Jake," she began, hesitating. "How would you feel about helping me with a project I'm starting? Something big." His brows furrowed with curiosity. "Like what?" "Something where we can create, together." The words flowed freely, igniting a spark of excitement. "What if we build something amazing that also helps us help other kids?" Jake's eyes brightened. "Can we make it a dinosaur school?" "I love it." Sarah laughed, the genuine joy of her son soothing her internal battle. It was a shared dream, a fusion of her ambitions and his innocent creativity. As they shared ideas, weaving a vision of their dinosaur school, Sarah felt her anxiety morph into excitement. This newfound partnership wasn't just a professional pivot, it was also a chance to invest in their bond. There was still a long road ahead, filled with hurdles and obstacles, but she was no longer standing at the crossroads alone. Later that night, as Jake slept peacefully in his room, Sarah perched on the edge of her bed, laptop open and ready to strategize. The mix of trepidation and exhilaration enveloped her. Each keystroke felt like laying the groundwork not only for a business but also for a nurturing familial relationship that could innovate and inspire. With the flickering light illuminating her face, she noted down goals, and ideas flowed rapidly onto the digital page. The anticipation of a partnership with Daniel alongside her surprising venture with Jake filled her thoughts with a renewed enthusiasm. Yet, even as she reveled in this potential, beneath the surface lurked a question she could not ignore. Would merging these facets of life invite cohesion, or would it instead lead to chaos that stretched her thin? As midnight approached, Sarah shut her laptop, her heart racing with excitement and apprehension. Tomorrow would bring a meeting with Daniel, where she would reveal her idea, a gamble that could reshape her understanding of balance. The phone chimed, breaking her reverie. She hesitated, sensing imminent change. Who could it be? With her pulse quickening, she glanced at the screen, and the illumination showed a name she hadn't anticipated. An unexpected message that might just alter everything. Would it reinforce her vision of balance, or send her spiraling into uncertainty once more? Sarah's heart raced as she read the name on her phone's screen. It was an old acquaintance, someone from her past who she hadn't spoken to in years. Ellie, her college roommate, had once been a spark of inspiration in her life, urging Sarah to chase her dreams and not to settle. But the message was unexpected, filled with urgency and excitement. Hey! I know it's been forever, but I have something amazing to share. Can we chat soon? It's about your project. I think I might know how to help you. The mention of her project pulled Sarah from her pensive state. Help? She debated whether to respond immediately or let the message linger. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, her mind racing back to the stakes. What did help imply? Encouragement? Financial backing? Or perhaps an uncomfortable intrusion? Taking a deep breath, she set her phone down. Tonight was not the night for distractions, but the thought illuminated something in her: the importance of reaching out, of building a network of support. In her sometimes solipsistic world, she had forgotten how invaluable others could be, especially those who understood her passions. Determined, she decided to forge ahead with her plans for the dinosaur school. Early the next morning, before the chaos of Jake waking up and the day's responsibilities began, she sketched out a framework. What would the curriculum include? How could they make learning fun while also integrating real-life skills? Excitement bubbled within her. This was not just a project, it was a chance to cultivate creativity alongside fundamental learning tools. Later that day, she found herself pacing outside the local cafe, rehearsing her pitch to Daniel. She visualized every possible reaction. Would he be skeptical of partnering with Jake? Would he see the potential of their combined ideas? Each potential response sparked a wave of doubt in her. What if he dismissed it, seeing it as a frivolous endeavor? Mom! Jake yelled from some feet away, tugging at her skirt. He was still in his dinosaur pajamas, his curls tousled from sleep, yet the bright purity in his eyes banished her fears. Hey, buddy, how about we run through our idea together? With enthusiasm, they mused over their plans while watching the once stone-faced adults around them walk briskly by, caught up in their own lives. Jake's innocent suggestions transformed what could have been a perfunctory conversation into unrestrained brainstorming. We can have a dino show and tell. He chimed. Yes. And we'll need a fun name, something to grab their attention. Feeling their bond deepen with every shared idea, she marveled at how this partnership with Jake shifted her perspective. She wasn't just a solitary woman trying to balance motherhood and work, she was nurturing a legacy, a foundation built on love, learning, and cooperation. Later, sitting across from Daniel in a quaint corner of the cafe, Sarah felt the adrenaline rush through her veins. His brows raised in genuine intrigue as she laid out their combined vision, passion spilling from her lips. It's more than just a business idea, it's about empowering kids to explore and learn in a creative environment. Daniel nodded, absorbing her words. However, the moment was punctuated by the sudden arrival of a phone call from his assistant, pulling him into a side conversation. Sarah sat quietly, anxiety rippling through her. Was this his opportunity to dash her hopes? Did he see anything substantive in her idea, or was she losing him to the mundane responsibilities that shadowed their lives? As he ended the call, Daniel returned his focus to her, but his expression had morphed into one of contemplation. He glanced around, eyes darting as if searching for something, before settling back on her with a steely resolve. I think there's potential here, Sarah, but it'll take more than just passion to convince my board. We need a solid plan, a clear strategy. Disappointment fluttered in her chest. How could she make something solid from an idea formed in tender moments between mother and child? Could she trust herself to navigate these uncharted waters? A deep breath filled her lungs as uncertainty shadowed her resolve, but before she could voice her concerns, Daniel continued, "But I believe in your vision. I want to assist in refining it." A wave of relief washed over her, but in the back of her mind, a new question began to surface. Could she craft the strategy powerful enough to marry both her passions and make a compelling case? As they discussed next steps, Sarah felt motivated yet wary. With the potential for success just beyond her reach, the stakes had never been higher. Striking the balance between fulfilling her personal aspirations and keeping Jake's dreams woven into her vision became a dual challenge she was ready to face, at least, until a familiar face flashed in her mind, intertwining with her ambitions. Just as Daniel finished his thoughts, a shadow in the background caught her eye. A figure emerged through the cafe doors. Ellie. The individual who had sent her the confusing yet intriguing text. The intensity of the moment shifted as Sarah's heart raced once more, the uncharted possibilities flashing before her. Was this meeting going to be a fortuitous convergence of old connections, or a layer of complexity that could spoil everything? Her world was about to expand yet again, and she wasn't sure whether to embrace or fear it. As Ellie approached the table, Sarah felt an uneasy mixture of elation and apprehension. The years melted away in the rhythm of Ellie's confident stride. The woman who had once championed Sarah's personal goals now stood before her, and with her an air of unresolved tension that echoed through their shared history. "Sarah. It's so great to see you." Ellie's enthusiasm was infectious, wrapping around them like a warm embrace, yet the familiarity brought forth an anxiety within. Would Ellie's renewed presence remind Sarah of pathways not taken? "Wow, it's been 4 years?" Sarah replied, forcing a smile. She gestured for Ellie to sit, trying to mask her internal turmoil. The very fact that Ellie was there now felt like both a gift and a burden. As they exchanged pleasantries, Sarah couldn't help but notice the sharpness in Ellie's gaze, the way it flickered across the cafe, gauging the environment, assessing potential connections. The energy buzzed between them, but beneath the surface, Sarah's mind began to churn. This was a pivotal moment. Ellie had reached out for a reason. "What's this about my project?" Sarah asked, all at once eager and apprehensive, pulling herself from the tight embrace of nostalgia. She needed clarity. She needed to know if Ellie's re-emergence was a boon or a distraction. Ellie leaned in, eyes glimmering with excitement. "I've been following your vision, and I think I can help. I've connected with some investors who are passionate about educational initiatives, especially ones that blend creativity and hands-on experiences for kids." A rush of adrenaline surged through Sarah. Investors? The mere notion of outside support transformed her reservations into hope. Could Ellie spark the means to elevate her project from a dream into tangible reality? Yet uncertainty nagged at the back of her mind. Was this partnership a calculated leap or a reckless plunge? "I appreciate that, Ellie, but I don't want to lose the essence of what Jake and I are creating together." Her voice wavered slightly. The belief in her vision was critical. "It's not about just making money. It's about nurturing a love for learning." Ellie nodded, her expression softening as if she understood. "I know. That's why I thought of you. We'll make sure the investors align with your vision. I won't let them steer it in a direction that compromises what you want to build." The confidence Ellie voiced struck a chord in Sarah, yet lingering doubts festered. "What's the catch? Why are you so invested in this?" She blurted, eyes narrowing. Leaving her vulnerability exposed felt risky, but the inquiry needed clarification. The question hung in the air, unyielding. Ellie took a deep breath, the revelation simmering beneath her composed exterior. "Because there was a time I saw potential in myself that I didn't act on like you. I want to change that. I want to help chase down dreams, not stifle them. Sarah fought back a wave of emotions, torn between inspiration and trepidation. The weight of responsibility surged as she contemplated the ramifications of involving Ellie in her ambitious project. Was this an opportunity for collaboration, or a collision of past aspirations now forcing her to confront her own hesitations? Let's talk strategy then, Sarah suggested, a newfound determination hardening her voice. This was her chance not only to bolster her project but to foster a partnership that could redefine both of their trajectories. The conversation flowed back and forth, ideas morphing into strategies, establishing plans for development and structure. Sarah felt the heaviness of doubt lift inch by inch. Ellie's support fueled her resolve, bridged her fears. As they dove deeper into specifics, Sarah realized she was no longer standing at the edge of uncertainty. She was stepping onto a solid foundation, eyes focused and heart racing toward eventual success. Just as they withdrew from discussions to breathe, something in the air shifted, a realization that the momentum could build past ideas, developing not just a business model but possibly rekindling an old friendship that had always been supportive, if not a tad distant. A sudden wave of warmth spread through Sarah. She sensed the vitality of reconnecting, yet the question lingered ominously: could she trust Ellie with a piece of her dream? Before she could dwell further, the entrance chimed, and a tall man with striking features entered the cafe. His presence, overt and commanding, commandeered Sarah's attention. It was Daniel. As their eyes met, the tension of unaddressed stakes surged back, intensifying the gravity of their evolving decisions. "Sarah, we need to finalize the plan for the board meeting," Daniel urged, his gaze drifting to Ellie. The air turned electric, a crossroads of connections tightening around her once more. Would she embrace this unexpected collaboration, risking everything for growth? Or would she choose an uncertain resolve and hold on to her singular vision? The choice loomed, fragile yet profound. The mood thickened as Sarah absorbed Daniel's urgent tone. His presence was a reminder of the corporate world she was entrenched in, the stakes she had to juggle alongside her personal aspirations. She felt the gravitational pull between her existing commitments and the new opportunities Ellie presented. As Daniel leaned in closer, a blend of frustration and determination stirred within her. "Right," she replied, her voice steady, though her heart raced. "Let me just finish up here." The words came out almost instinctively, aimed at buying herself a moment. She needed clarity, but the hurried nature of Daniel's request sent conflicting signals through her mind. Her eyes darted back to Ellie, whose expression had shifted slightly. What once radiated warmth now bore hints of caution, mirroring Sarah's inner turmoil. "Sorry for the interruption," Daniel muttered, an edge of impatience to his voice as he scrolled through his phone. Sarah processed the nuances of his demeanor. He had always expected her to follow through, to be the consummate professional, but now, with the inception of this potential partnership looming, she felt a distinct push toward re-evaluating her priorities. "Give me a second, Daniel," Sarah said, trying to assert control. "I'm trying to work out details that could change everything for my project." Ellie seemed to understand the tension, raising her eyebrows slightly as if to say, "This is your decision." Sarah felt invigorated by that unspoken endorsement mixed with pressure from Daniel. "Fine." Daniel shoved his phone into his pocket, crossing his arms. "But we're on a tight schedule. We can't afford to get sidetracked by exploring new possibilities." Ellie's voice rang out, startling everyone at the table. She had taken on a defensive stance that surprised Sarah. This was the Ellie she remembered, the fierce advocate who wasn't afraid to challenge the norms. But a flicker of doubt crept into Sarah's thoughts. Was this the best way to fragment her attention right before the board meeting? "Let us focus on what matters," Daniel pressed, impatience seeping through the cracks of his authoritative tone. "We have commitments, Sarah. Your idea is just a concept without the right execution." The words jabbed at her like a sudden chill, reminding her of her fears of inadequacy. Was her idea strong enough to stand up against this kind of pressure? Ellie sensed the internal conflict, her eyes locking onto Sarah's as if urging her forward. "Daniel, Let us not dismiss potential before we've explored it, Sarah said, surprising even herself with the firmness of her tone. The intimidation usually shadowed by Daniel's presence began to wane. My conversation isn't just about bureaucracy. This is about values. It's about passion. Not all passion translates into profit, he countered sharply. We need strategy, data. Numbers. At that moment, Sarah felt the walls close in, a sense of urgency pulsating through her veins. Was she sacrificing her vision to appease the traditional expectations of success? A familiar resolve pulled her back toward Ellie. What if you sat in on this meeting, Ellie? Together we can demonstrate the potential impact of blending creativity and education. Prove it's not just about the numbers. The challenge hung in the air. She could see Daniel processing the idea, his assumptions rattled. Her words had shifted the power dynamic. She was no longer just an employee, she had a vision, and she was prepared to fight for it. Ellie's eyes gleamed with a new understanding. This wasn't merely about negotiations and contracts anymore, it was a chance for transformation, for Sarah's growth, for reviving her passion. Suddenly, Sarah felt bursts of adrenaline flood her system, igniting a flame of optimism. Daniel opened his mouth to object, but Sarah held her hand up, deliberately cutting him off. The choice reverberated within her. She was generating pathways instead of walls, defying the fear rooted deep down inside, claiming her space in the conversation. Let us make this meeting count. Let us innovate, she declared, her voice steadied by a newfound conviction. But before they could finalize the plans or even wade through the initial stirrings of collaboration, the cafe doors swung open once more. Another figure stepped in, one whose face was unmistakably tied to past failures. As she caught sight of him, doubt surged again. Maybe this is my moment of truth, too, she thought uneasily. What if the new arrival held the key to a crucial decision that could either solidify her plans or unravel them entirely? Would she stand firm in the winds of change, or would she falter just as her visions began to crystallize? The sun rose over Chicago, casting elongated shadows that danced across the busy streets. For Sarah, this morning heralded a new beginning, one fueled by courage and conviction. Over the past few weeks, she had traversed the rocky terrain of ambition versus motherhood, ever balancing hopes for her son Jake while nurturing her own aspirations. Today, her journey concluded with a professional resolve she could feel blooming from within. She stood in front of a sizable conference table, the meeting room buzzing with executives from Daniel's company, along with Ellie by her side, her steadfast ally. The air felt heavy with anticipation as they prepared to present their project on the Dinosaur School, a fresh blend of education and empowerment. Building this venture had become the catalyst for Sarah's transformation, a journey toward reclaiming her dreams. As the projector warmed up, Sarah caught a glimpse of her reflection in the glass surface. She appeared different, no longer just the waitress floundering through a diner's hustle. Instead, she radiated confidence as she prepared to share a vision that wove together the warmth of parenting with the principles of innovation. The battle between fear and robustness melted into an overwhelming sense of belonging. The presentation began, and Sarah found herself captivated by the energy in the room. As she unveiled her vision, she spoke passionately, sharing how creativity could redefine learning. Every word resonated like a heartbeat's rhythm, grounding her further into the essence of her purpose. Daniel lent his expertise, providing data points and supporting credibility. Ellie chimed in, fortifying Sarah's insights with her connections to investors ready to support meaningful educational ventures. Each nod and inquisitive expression from the room fueled her fervor, prompting her to delve deeper into their shared ideas. By the conclusion, Sarah could see the glimmer of possibility in the eyes around her, a collective acknowledgement of the compelling narrative they were weaving together. For the first time, she wasn't being dismissed as just another worker bee. Her brilliance shone through, and finally, she felt recognized. And in bringing kids into this innovative learning space, she concluded, we're not just teaching curriculum, we're instilling confidence, creativity, and the courage to explore. The room burst into applause, and Sarah felt her heart swell with pride, knowing she had delivered a presentation that spoke of her values and aspirations, one that directly tied to being the mother she wanted to be. As the meeting adjourned, murmurs of support echoed through the room, fueling a momentum that swirled around Sarah like warm sunlight. Several executives approached her with words of encouragement, their enthusiasm painting a stark contrast to the doubts she had harbored just weeks prior. Alongside her stood Daniel, a newfound respect evident in his demeanor. "You did amazing," he expressed, the sincerity in his tone cutting through the pretense of corporate rigor. Walking outside, Ellie beamed at her. "I told you. We're just getting started. I can't wait to see where we take this." Sarah felt lighter, ready to consume this opportunity not just for herself, but for Jake. This venture involved building a legacy that would show him that ambition and creativity could thrive hand in hand, illuminated by familial bonds. Later that evening, when she returned home, the chaos of Jake playing in the living room became a soothing balm to her spirit. As they constructed elaborate forts, laughter erupted, free and vibrant, and Sarah felt herself relax into the excitement brewing around this new venture. That night, amidst their laughter, she gently told him about the dinosaur school and how they could explore it together, as a team. Jake's eyes lit up, and her heart soared with joy. The partnership between the two of them was blossoming right beside her ambitions. Reflecting on her journey, Sarah marveled at how far she had come. The woman who once scrambled for shifts at the diner had discovered a solid confidence, evolved professionally, and established a recognized position in a competitive landscape. She proved to herself that motherhood and ambition were not conflicting forces but allies that could fuel each other's success. The next morning, she stared at the sun rising above the horizon, her mind brimming with plans, strategies, and dreams, a roadmap to a future she had once thought elusive. With a smile, she leaned into her new role, stepping into the narrative of transformation, ready to conquer whatever lay ahead. And to everyone following along on this journey, you need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below with your reactions and theories about the ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your engagement helps the community. That's how we create more empowering stories. Let's celebrate individual transformation together.